The Morgan Thomas Show. Brought to you by...
What is up, college football fans? It's the Morgan Thomas Show, Friday edition. It's our Boston College scouting report. We've been doing our scouting report with our intern, Mr. Dixon Massengill. Thank you for joining me again, Dixon.
Oh, yes. Pleasure to be here. Ready to get into it.
Yeah, a lot to talk about because really we anticipated talking about Boston College mostly. But there's some bigger news going on, and I'm sure all of Clemson Nation is very aware of the situation that is happening in the upstate of South Carolina. Trevor Lawrence tested positive for COVID-19, and it kind of puts a big question mark over really the rest of the season. A lot of people saying maybe Trevor Lawrence should sit out for the entire rest of the season because he is the number one draft pick. What's the need? And they also have a 5-star quarterback in DJ Uiagalelei backing him up that seems to be ready to go. Battling a shoulder issue, but according to social media accounts from his family, ready to take over, even though this is not the situation or the circumstances that he wanted to take over. So last night I got my phone blown up about Trevor Lawrence. What's going on? Why is this happening? I jokingly said that Clemson has a Heisman Trophy curse, that Clemson has never won the Heisman Trophy, and the best candidate so far ever now has COVID, is going to be out for 2 games. One of the most important games being that of Notre Dame, possibly. We don't know for sure or not, but definitely going to be out for Boston College. And then also, did you know that this weekend is going to be a full moon, but also a blue moon? Once in a blue moon. Not only is it going to be Halloween weekend, but there's a full moon. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of weird, kind of scaring me a little bit. But Dixon, when did you find out? How did you find out? What was your reaction?
I was actually I was scrolling through Instagram last night, and I was just looking at posts, and all of a sudden I see breaking: Trevor Lawrence has COVID, and I almost cried, but because it shocked me, and obviously that was like every Clemson fan's worst nightmare was Trevor Lawrence gets COVID, and thankfully, I guess we say thankfully, we do have a 5-star backing him up, so that is a plus. And I think that DJ's going to have a good game. I'm hoping he's going to have a good game. I'm sure he's been getting a lot of reps in practice the last couple days after this news. I'm sure that Davo has been talking his guys up and getting everybody ready to go, because it's gonna be, I think, a little more difficult without Trevor there and without his presence on the sideline even. So we'll see if DJ can pull through. Hopefully ETN will have a good game, and maybe some of our other running backs, just to see how they can handle the pressure and maybe take a little bit of the pressure off DJ, just to help him do a little better and not be so worried about his performance, to just play a good game and to be smart about it. But the news was definitely a shocker to me. I was very worried. So hopefully the team will play good this weekend, and looking forward to next weekend. Hopefully he'll be back. So we'll see how it goes.
And you made a good point there about how he's not going to be there to cheer him on, because according to the ACC, they follow the CDC guidelines requiring a student athlete, and I'll quote this for you: a student athlete who tests positive for COVID-19 shall be isolated for at least 10 days from the onset of symptoms / positive test. Now the question there is, when was the onset of symptoms? We know the positive test was Wednesday. So we have Wednesday, but we don't know, did he have onset of symptoms? Maybe that pushes it up a little bit. We don't really know for sure, but at least 1 day has passed. And also it says a positive test, and at least 1 day has passed since recovery has found a resolution of fever without the use of fever-reducing medications and improvement of respiratory system. So basically, cough suppressants and things like that. He can't be on those types of things and be cleared, quote unquote. And then it does have to be isolation 24 hours for each day. So it's a full day of isolation, for example. Then it says that if you look at the timeline, you've got Wednesday, right? We're looking at the 28th. So if you count the 28th as kind of day 0, Then you've really got, Saturday is day 10. If you count the 28th as day 1, then Saturday, and I mean the Saturday for Notre Dame is day 11. But is he going to then be off of any kind of medications that might be helping his symptoms? We don't know. I mean, it's still up in the air with Notre Dame. Like I said, it is definitely for sure out of the question that he will be playing in against Boston College this weekend. And so we know that DJ Uiagalelei is going to be playing as a starting quarterback, even though he's been kind of dinged up. Now, are you confident because he's a 5-star recruit? Now, Dabo Swinney says he doesn't put a lot of stock in a 5-star recruit because they still got to come out and play and practice hard and do a lot of things to prove that they can be in that position. I know you got to be a little bit confident that he is a highly regarded recruit, but are you kind of concerned considering he really hasn't had much playing time and he's also kind of dealing with a little bit of a shoulder injury?
Sorry about that. Froze on my side. You mind repeating that last part of that question?
I was saying that no, you're fine. I was saying that are you concerned that DJ is going to be playing, considering that he hasn't played a lot and he has been dealing with a shoulder injury?
I wouldn't be super concerned with his playing ability. I think he's going to be able to tough it out. I think that he's a tough kid. He's going to be able to work through it. And if he has to come out, we send in Fomachan. But hopefully he'll have a good game. I'd like to see him come out and really help the offense put some points up on the board early, so that maybe we throw a backup in. We'll see. But I think that there's a little concern around that injury. Hopefully it does not get aggravated, because I think if it gets aggravated, it's gonna be a problem for him. But I think that him coming out of the gate, I think he's going to need to put some points up on the board early, get some momentum going, because if you get some momentum going, then the pain kind of goes away, because you're hitting passes, you're getting the ball where your receivers can get it, stuff like that. So I think it'll be important for him to get in a good vibe early, to maybe get his mind off of that shoulder a little bit. But I think it'll be good. I think he'll be all right.
It's definitely one of those things where you feel like Clemson's going to now have to start to prove that they can run the ball again. I've been questioning them this week about what happened to the run blocking, what happened to Travis Etienne behind these big offensive line. The offensive line seems to be doing excellent in pass blocking, struggling in run blocking. But we'll get into that a little bit further. Again, what's your thoughts on Trevor Lawrence? We're talking about Trevor Lawrence right now, testing positive for COVID-19. Let's say that he's in isolation, just like you mentioned, not going to be able to practice with the team, going to be kind of stuck, isolating himself, not going to be able to throw a football around with teammates, not going to be, I guess he's going to still be able to prepare. You can still prepare in your own room for Notre Dame, for example, but he really would not have practiced in 11 days, and then he would also not be able to fly to South Bend with the team, because that would be like the end of the ninth, the start of the 10th day there when they travel. So he's going to have to go up there by himself if he even does. So what's your thoughts on this affecting Notre Dame game? Do you think he's actually going to be able to make that game, or what's your initial thoughts? I know it's still up in the air, but
Yeah, like you said, it is up in the air on whether or not he gets to go. I really hope he's going. But I definitely think that his presence in practice, and you see it all over the place about how he's such a leader on his team, to his teammates, even to some of the coaches. But I think it's going to be interesting to see how the Clemson team reacts to him not being on the sidelines with them this weekend and possibly even next weekend. Just seeing the impact he makes on and off the field. So I really hope he gets to go next weekend. And like you said, missing an entire week of practice is going to be difficult, especially for somebody especially for your number one Heisman front runner right now. So I think that I don't know what him missing a week of practice is going to look like, on whether or not he's prepared or not. I would assume he'd be pretty prepared, just because of how we've seen him play, and so I think that if he gets to play, I think he'll be all right. I think he will play like he's been playing. Hopefully, he won't come off and be rusty or anything like that. So it'll be good to see him back out in the lineup next week if that's the call and if that's what happens. But it'll be interesting to see how he reacts to being off a week. So.
And another thing is that you know you've got Clemson. It's gonna be good weather. Clemson's Boston College coming to Clemson. Clemson's now 6-0. Boston College 4-2. It's a noon game, which I kind of like noon games in the sense that you get to see your Tigers play early. And right when you wake up, you kind of go through College game day, and then it's right there. You don't have to wait all night for it. But I know that those nighttime games are typically better games and make me wait around a little bit. But Clemson right now on a 9-game winning streak against Boston College. So that's one good positive there. Also, Travis Etienne has typically had a pretty good success against Boston College, so I'm excited about it. So let's talk about that Boston College team. Let's talk about what Clemson may or may not do on offense and on defense. Let's start with when Boston College has the ball. Now, we know that James Skalski is out for next couple of weeks, and Tyler Davis may not suit up for the Tigers against the Eagles. And, you had DK miss last week. So some banged up players on Clemson's defense. Do you feel like that Boston College is going to try to take advantage of those missing players?
If I were Boston College, I think I would. I think I would definitely try to take advantage of some of those weaker areas where we don't necessarily have the Clemson's best player in. I think that definitely missing Skalski is going to be a big game changer for Clemson defensively because he's been having a great year so far. So having him out of the game is definitely going to put some question marks on that Clemson secondary. And you may look for players like Zay Flowers or David Bailey, the running back and number one wide receiver for Boston College, trying to take advantage of some of those areas on the Clemson defense. David Bailey has not had a super great year at running back, but maybe with some of these Clemson players out, and we all know Clemson's defense is still really hard to run against, even with and without those players. So it'll be interesting to see if he can capitalize on maybe Clemson missing a couple key components of the secondary. So that'll be interesting to see and watch how that goes.
Yeah, David Bailey is coming off his best game of the season against Georgia Tech last week, and even Jurkovic, the quarterback, got into the running game as well with 97 yards total against Georgia Tech. But Georgia Tech, we know, is not Clemson. Clemson is currently holding opponents to 2.9 yards per carry. And Clemson has notoriously been pretty good against stuffing the Boston College running game, even with A.J. Dillon, which was one of the best running backs we've seen in a few years in the ACC. The Tiger defense holds teams to under 14 points per game right now. And so they're putting pressure on the quarterback. They're stopping the run very well. They have a stacked defensive line, even with Tyler Davis out, of fresh guys out there. We know that Xavier Thomas is starting to get in a little bit more as the season goes on. So you mentioned those guys. I'm not so worried about David Bailey. I think what has happened in the past is going to continue. The running game is going to be difficult, even with Tyler Davis out. It's going to be difficult for Boston College to have success. Now they may, now that they've kind of figured something out with Jurkovic running more, but what I would say is they're probably going to have to lean more on what they've been doing well, which is passing the ball to Zay Flowers and the other receivers out there.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, like you said, the Clemson defense has been stout against running backs and running games all year long, and I think that they're going to continue to do that. It may be. And like we said earlier, it may be a little more difficult when you don't have those linebackers in, but I still think I don't see them having a problem with either Bailey or Jurkovic running the ball, which would be good because that will make them rely more on the air game and try to throw the ball up to Zay Flowers, like you said. So that'll be well. Let's hope that Let's hope that the Clemson defense can hold those guys and force Boston College to do something that maybe can cause them to make some mistakes. We'll see.
And if you gave me Spector, Venables, Jake, and Mike Jones Jr., I'm still okay with that. Now Skalski has been a huge, huge superstar this year. But Spector's also been stepping up in a big way, very unexpectedly to at least the fan base, not necessarily the people inside of the Clemson walls. Dabo Swinney speaks as if he knew that Spector was going to be this good as a linebacker. So I'm not really that concerned. And I'm also, with the fact that there's Fred Davis, with there's Mario Goodrich, with there's Sheridan Jones, and then you've got Andrew Booth that's been doing well, and Nolan Turner. I mean, Dabo Swinney came out last week and said that Nolan Turner's the best safety that Clemson's had in 18 years, which you're basically talking about Brian Dawkins at that point. And so to say that about Nolan Turner, a guy who was really overlooked as a high school recruit, is a big deal for sure. So I'm not as concerned about defense. I think it's going to be same old same, Boston College versus Clemson's defense. And I mean, you really can't blame me because if anything, Brent Venables has gotten his team so consistent that it can be expected that you're going to get a top 5 performance from a defense. And even if there are some things given up, and we talk about, things that were given up against Syracuse, nobody really picked on the defense because it really, 2 of those 21 points last week were not even the defense's fault, to be honest. Only one, which was the blown deep ball that the guy blew past Joseph Charleston, which it was really just him being flat-footed, getting caught. Really, other than that, one player mistake, not the entire team of the defense. And so I don't think there's any issue of concern. Now, the headlines and the concern flips over to Boston College's when they are on defense and Clemson is on offense. Now, you going into the season, you probably never would thought, okay, man, we got to worry about what Clemson's going to do on offense, because they've been just as consistent in being an elite team on offense. But now that elite quarterback is not playing and not going to be there on the sidelines to help. So the core person around this Clemson offense, which has been Trevor Lawrence, the Heisman front runner right now, is not going to be playing. So what if you're, first of all, we talked about DJ. If you're DJ, who are you leaning on the most going into this game?
Well, if I didn't say Travis Etienne, I would have to say Amari Rogers, obviously, because he's been having a great season. We've all seen that. He's been catching Trevor's balls all year. We'll see how DJ is able to throw him the ball and get him the ball and throw accurately, because we saw a couple missed passes last week against Syracuse. So we'll see if he's going to need Amari to be able to get open, make some plays on some corners, some safeties, and give DJ an opportunity to throw the ball to him and give him an opportunity to make some plays. So I think Amari Rogers is definitely going to be a key part of DJ's game and also Clemson's game at the same time.
So realistic thought on DJ as far as you think he's gonna be able to pick it up quickly. You think it's going to take a couple quarters? You think they're going to not even really test him? If you were the offensive coordinator, if you're Tony Elliott, do you go ahead and open it up to as much of a playbook as he knows? We know he doesn't know the entire playbook. We know that. But are you going to try to keep it as open as possible, or are you going to try to keep it as conservative as possible and just, ETN all day?
I think I'm going to have faith in DJ. I think I would have faith in his ability to throw the ball and even run the ball, like we've seen him do a couple times this year. I think that it's definitely going to be key for him to be able to run the plays that he is most comfortable running, throwing the ball where he's most comfortable, his favorite routes, etc. And just the offense coordinator being able to figure out what's kind of his mojo this game, what's he feeling, what's he throwing the best. What are his reads looking like, and just finding out what he's most comfortable with, because like you said, this news that he's going to be starting is only a couple days old. So he's only had a couple days as that starting quarterback to really prepare for a game like this, and what could prove to be one of Clemson's more difficult games, not necessarily the most difficult, but I think it will be very key to see how the offense kind of comes around him and forms around him. Now the coaches are able to get him in his comfort zone, get him throwing good balls, and keeping, like you said earlier, the pass blocking, just making sure that's 100% and that's going good, because it's going to be a lot harder if he's got pressure in his face all game, which I don't think he will. I think our pass blocking is pretty good. I think they'll do their job. But just I think the biggest thing for him is getting him into his comfort zone. And if he starts struggling early, if we see that, then definitely flipping the ball to ETN some more, letting him run the ball, finding the weak spots on Boston College's defense. I think we'll see a healthy mix of both. I think that it'll be good to see DJ get some good balls in the air, spread the ball around to the best of his ability, and then on the backside, flip it to ETN a couple times, get him some big chunk runs and some touchdowns there.
Yeah, I'm with you on basically everything you said. I think that DJ needs to, remember, and I think a big time 5-star guy knows DJ needs to remember that he doesn't have to do everything. He has a bunch of stars around him, but also I think that the Clemson staff can be a little bit more comfortable because they got to the point where they recruit quarterbacks who are already in a similar system, that they already run. So it can't, he may not know everything, but he doesn't know nothing, I guess you could say. So he definitely has some experience. He definitely understands how to play football. And if he gets connected with one of those players, for me, I would say this. What it seems like when a fresh quarterback comes in, they're going to have jitters. So what do? You try to protect the football at least early to get the jitters out, or you also try to put them in a situation to get the jitters knocked out of them. Now, this could be dangerous. I know a lot of fans are worried about this, but I expect, unless the staff watches this video, I fully expect one of the first plays to be a quarterback draw. If it was Deshaun Watson and and there's a lot of pressure, crowd noise, everything going on, what's one way that you kind of relax a player? You let him get tackled. You know what? I mean, you just kind of, once you get that first hit, your heart rate kind of resets. You're like, okay, all right, your breathing gets a little, okay, I know what it's like to get hit now. I see what's coming. Now I'm going to slow down and think about it a little bit more. I'm going to focus on what I need to do. And that's what he needs to do, is just focus on that. So I expect first play out of the game, DJ will do a quarterback draw. Maybe one of these hike, looks like he's going to like old Deshaun Watson style. Hike, look up and then you're adjusting the ball in your hand like you're going to pass it quick and then duck it down, right? I think that's going to happen. And then, or maybe a read option where he goes behind and follows Travis Etienne. And then I think the second play of the game is going to be to Travis Etienne, and then the third play of the game is going to be to Travis Etienne. And then if that doesn't have success, they're going to punt it. So I don't think there's going to be a pass at the very beginning of the game. I think it'd be very ill-advised to make him throw the ball in the very first series on the very first 3 plays. Okay, so first 3 plays, I'm expecting run. I really am. I mean, I know it's kind of boring and bland and not testing anything, but you really you want to get him into the feel of the game and get used to it, because it is different. It is different coming into a game when it's 0-0 and you're the starter versus coming into a game when you're the backup and you're already up 4 touchdowns and there's no real risk there. So big difference there. All right, now here comes to the odds, and we'll close it out. I know you got some things to do, and you're also playing football yourself this weekend, so you got a busy weekend coming up. But odds right now started out 31 points. Now we all came out and said I actually picked Clemson. The other 2 guys on the Monday night show did not pick Clemson. They picked Boston College. We implemented if there is a COVID issue or the quarterback is out between Monday and Saturday, then you can void out the game. So I'm actually voiding out the game. You got it on record right now. I'm putting my void out there for this game. No one could have predicted what happened this week. So I am not in it anymore. But I think the more I have kind of settled in on it, I probably would have picked Boston College plus the 31 now going back. So I would have gone back on my first pick, even though I'm a Clemson homer, true and true. Now it's plus 24. So how do you feel about plus 24? I'll go ahead and tell you mine straight up. I would go ahead and pick plus 24 as well, just because you really don't know what to expect. As much as we can predict it or try to analyze it, you really never know with a new quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's difficult, because if it had been 31, I think I would have immediately taken Boston College. But now looking at it, I mean, it is only 24. I mean, that's only 3 scores and a field goal. And I mean, and it's like a toss up, because you think oh, well, what if DJ comes out of the locker room and he's just not feeling it, and ETN has to run the ball the whole game, something like that. Or it's DJ comes out of the locker room, he's on fire, he's throwing the ball all over the field, nobody can touch the ball. It's just, and Clemson just starts running away with it. And I think it could go either way. Um, this is a difficult decision, I gotta tell you.
You got to go with it, man. Go with your gut.
I think at the end of the day, I think I'm gonna stick with Clemson and stick with the Tigers, minus the 24. I think that they're gonna be able to pull something together. I think that DJ is gonna come out. I think he's gonna have a good game. I think he's gonna settle in quickly. And first 3 run plays, I'm gonna hold you to that. I will text you if they pull a pass play in one of his first 3 plays. Um,
I've been
but
known
I
to
think
predict. I've been known to predict some plays before. There were a couple of times where back in the day when Taj Boyd was the quarterback, I would say, "Hey, he's throwing to Brian on this play," and sure enough, it would be that. And there's been people around me in the stands say, "Wow, I can't believe you picked that." But very few. There's many times where they tricked me. But to me, I just kind of see this in my mind of looking up, pretending to throw the ball, and then just running it. I mean, it's going to happen. I mean,
oh yeah,
especially if they come out with no running back, 5 wide, which I could see them doing that as well. Let them come out in 4 wide and motion ETN out to as a wide receiver. That is not a pass, my friend. That is a run.
if that ends up being a pass, I'm gonna laugh at you. No, I do like that thought though. I think I could totally see that happening. I think that that's a solid game plan, coming from the mind of Morgan Thomas. And I think that there's definitely a chance that happens, especially if you see DJ. DJ come out and just he's feeling it, get in there, get tackled, like you say, get the jitters out, whatever. And then if that doesn't work, then you flip it to your second best player or maybe even your first best player, in your opinion, on the offense, and Travis Etienne, and just let him do what he does and run the ball. Which I like that thought. I like that thought. But if it's a pass, it's going to be pretty funny. Um, but I think if they pass the ball on one of those first 3 plays, I think they're going to go with a simple maybe halfback screen or tight end screen or quick slant, something like that. Just some easy, small, short throw, just to get DJ's arm into the game. Just try to pick up a couple yards on first down or second down, and then I would say you'd probably got a run coming. So I like that thought.
If it's a pass, it's basically going to be a run because the receiver has to do everything, is what you're telling me. They're going to have to catch it and then go 10 yards to try to get a first down. I get that. I mean, if any team can do it or will do it, it's Clemson. They're going to throw it to the flats no matter who it is. Even if it's Trevor Lawrence out there, they're going to throw it to the flats because Amari Rodgers and Travis Etienne are so good in those scenarios. So I really think that, like you said, I agree. You don't need to throw it 50 yards down the field because, one, you don't have that personnel, but two, you don't need that personnel. You have 2 guys that are so good at picking up yards after the play, and also one-on-one competition or moves that they can have success. So I'm looking forward to the game this weekend. I know you guys are. With it being noon, it's exciting. We got our prediction in there. We've got our discussion of the preview of Boston College on offense, defense, and we even talked about Trevor Lawrence, the biggest news that's out there right now. Thank you so much for joining in to this short Friday night scouting report. Make sure you tune in every Monday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. You'll have me, Alan, and Houston. We go through everything from the previous week and then talk about the week coming up and also give you our picks against the spread, which, I'm still doing pretty well with. I'm above 500 still as it holds right now, but I took a lot of lone wolf picks this week, and so maybe that's a good thing, and I'll pull out even further ahead of the guys. Maybe it's a bad thing, and I'll drop back. We'll see, but at least we get to see some more college football. Before we go, last question for you, putting you on the spot here. Did not practice this. Favorite Halloween costume that you've ever wore?
Good grief. Let's think. I was never really good at coming up with costumes, to be honest with you. I'm a big Star Wars fan, and me and my brother, one Halloween, we decided to go as clone troopers. So that was a good one. That was probably the best costume I've ever had. And clone trooper, yeah, that's probably it. And I actually got one more for you. What's your favorite Halloween candy?
Oh man, so it's got a Halloween version here. Well, I can't say anything but Reese's. I mean, Reese's in a pumpkin, Reese's in a cup, Reese's in a mini, Reese's in a large, Reese's in a Christmas candy or a Christmas tree. Anything Reese's, I will eat it. And I actually got a bag downstairs that my family's trying to hold me back from because they're not for me. But I might sneak in a little bit. And if the game gets a little stressful, I might go take a few Reese's and try to calm myself down and eat some good candy there. But thanks again, Dixon. We really appreciate you coming on the show, man, and always great, man. Your last show did so great that we might hire you. We don't know. But keep it up. We really appreciate it. And thanks again.
All right. Thank you, man.